Hello, hello. What's up, everyone? Welcome to the webinar. I have in the waiting room Kevin Olson and our buddy Gary and Dusty. Supposed to be on here any second, but yeah, so he's coming. So today the plan is to talk about building and scaling drone photography, cinematography, and real estate businesses. If that is you, let me know in the comments. I see a bunch of people talking about where they're from. Yeah, so chime in where you're from. And what we're going to do is we're going to have we'll have Kevin come up first. We'll put Kevin and Gary on the screen as well, and then Dusty when he gets in here. Kevin's got a very successful side business really for a long time, and he's been a big inspiration to a lot of folks in the drone launch community. And Gary has a cool story about starting off doing mapping and then switching to real estate and being very successful there. So excited to see his advice and tips. I'm just curious. I'll go ahead and bring Kevin and Gary on, and then what's up, Kevin?
What's going on,
Gary? And then Dusty's texting me saying, "I don't know what happened." So we'll see if we can get him on here.
There were two links that got sent out, so maybe he's got the wrong one.
Oh, maybe. Let me do this. I'll copy this and I'll send it to him there. All right. But yeah, thank you both for being here. Let's just get started. Why don't you start with just a little bit of background in case people don't know who you are maybe they've never heard of you guys. If they've been to some drone launch stuff, they may have seen you, but let's pretend nobody knows who you are. So why don't you go first, Kevin? Give some background on yourself, and then we'll flip it over to Gary.
Sure. Well, my name's Kevin Olson. I'm the owner of Maryland Drone Guy. It's a photography and videography business here in Maryland. I'm right outside of DC, in between DC and Baltimore. Like David said, this is kind of a side business for me. This started actually as a hobby during COVID. It was a COVID hobby. I was going kind of stir crazy in my house, doing absolutely nothing at the beginning of the pandemic. So I picked up a new hobby, flying a drone. Back then, I bought the Air 2S. So I was just flying around my backyard, flying around parks. Eventually, I wanted to challenge myself a little more, so I did get my Part 107 license. Kind of did some things on the side, local businesses, local restaurants, farms, stuff like that, just around my area. Just kind of got experience doing that, and from there, my business kind of just picked up from there. I had no intentions of ever starting a business. I never really wanted to get into the accounting side of it and learning about sales tax and all that stuff. I had no intentions of ever doing that, but here I am. So it keeps me busy. It's a good little side hustle. Like I said, I do have a full-time job, but it's just something I do on the side when I'm on the weekends or after work. So it definitely keeps me busy. So
sweet.
About 4 or 5 years now I've been doing it. It's crazy.
And if you guys want to dive more into Kevin's background, we did have him on the Drone to 1K podcast. That's been a little bit, so I think you've made even more progress since then. We do have Dusty with us. I think 2 links were floating around, like you guys said, so maybe you got on the wrong one. Anyways, but this is Dusty. He's our Drone Launch Connect community manager. Dusty, I was just having Kevin and Gary give some intros about themselves real quick. Kevin, I just want to make a quick shout out to you. I was just on the Drone Launch Connect site, and I saw that you got a photo licensed by Microsoft Bing. Tell me about that real quick.
I just found out about 2 days ago that they licensed my photo. It's actually going to be on Bing USA's main page when you search on August 22nd. So if you go to Bing's website on August 22nd, you'll see my photo of Ocean City, Maryland down there. So they licensed that from me for 2 years. So that's cool. Not bad for an old photo I had sitting around for about 3 years.
Yeah, seriously. And then if you don't mind, give us a ballpark of like maybe a good month or it's like a bad month to a good month of kind of what your business is doing, even as just a side hustle. Just
side business. Yeah, I mean, it depends on the time of the year too. So like around here, it gets really cold in the wintertime. Some months I don't get any business, especially in like December, January, February, when all the trees are dead and there's snow everywhere. But then the summertime now, it's picking up like crazy. So just for the whole year as a side business, I did about $25,000 last year, just a side business. So anywhere, I could do one job for a month and that would be a $3,000-$4,000 job, just depending on the client and what I'm doing. So sometimes I do that. Sometimes I do pick up little small jobs here for $150, $200, $300, depending on what it is. So It fluctuates depending on the time of the year, but right now in the summertime, the spring, summertime, it's kind of my busy time now. So
Cool.
yeah,
Awesome.
not
Thanks
bad for
for
a little
the
side business though.
yeah, nice. That was seriously. So we'll get some more of your specific tips later, but let's flip over to Gary for your intro. What's going on, Gary? Why don't you tell us a little bit about about yourself?
Hey, everybody. Can everybody hear me?
Yes,
Okay.
sir.
Hey, my name is Gary. I'm a retired Army guy. I've jumped out of more planes than I've ever landed in, and now I thought that was cool, but now it hurts every day when I wake up. Uh, I got into drones uh, about 2020. Didn't know much about it. Like I said, I'm retired from the Army, trying to find that little niche, trying to find that little life where I want to go with my life now. uh, got involved and I love mapping. I fell in love with mapping and and funny thing about it, there was no community around that during that time to find anything. You just had to go to YouTube here, go to YouTube University and get all the information. Uh, and then I hooked up with Drone Launch Connect, and that's what's really got me. And later on, I'll go into a little more of detail about what happened in the pivot and everything like this. But life is great. I mean, I wake up every morning, I get in my office, there's a car, I drive, I listen to audiobooks, I take pictures, I fly my drone, and I collect a paycheck. I mean, I love it.
Great.
you know.
So, real quick, Gary, what not to go too deep into the story, because I think we'll flip back to it in a minute after Dusty tells everybody who he is. But uh, how like what? I'm just curious, what led you to make the switch from mapping to now you're doing real estate stuff, right?
Yeah. Basically, I'm up here in Pennsylvania, and there's a lot of Amish guys, and I'm not saying anything bad about that like that, but technology hasn't caught up here, and everybody is old school here. And then Pennsylvania really hit hard with what we call mapping or surveying or photogrammetry. We can't say that here up here in Pennsylvania, and for me to be able to do that, I could be sued and everything like this. So I'm like, I've got all these drones. What am I going to do next? And Dusty knows this, and I don't mean any disrespect for anybody. I stay things straightforward. I have to apologize if I offend anybody, but I thought it was for those little weak people like drones to do real estate stuff. Who I'm a mapper. I fly for maps. I don't do that. That stuff like that. But one day I did. I flew. Basically, what really pivoted me over is I was flying for another photographer, and he says, "Hey, would you go pick that check up from over here for us, please?" And so I did, and I happened to see what he got paid versus what I got paid. Yeah, I made a switch.
So, how long have you been doing real estate stuff for now?
Probably almost 2 years now.
Okay. And then I don't know if you mind sharing, but what's like a range of what maybe a good month and a bad month might be for you on the real estate stuff?
Good month right now is about 10,000.
Okay.
An average month's probably around 4 to 5 right there.
Sweet. Okay. Cool. Just want to get like I think it's helpful for people to know sort of where people are at. And now, do you do that full time?
Yes.
Sweet. Awesome. Cool. All right.
I can't hear you.
Sorry. It just
Okay, now I
unmuted
can
me
hear
because
you.
your
Yeah.
browser. It told me it lost connection
Maybe
to
it's
my
me.
mic, but no, can you hear me?
No. Yeah, I can hear you.
All right. Cool. Dusty, want to give everybody a bit of background about yourself, who you are, what's going on?
Yeah, sure. So I'm Dusty Jolly. I'm the community manager of Drone Launch Connect community. I'm 42 years old from Arkansas. I've got 3 kids under the age of 7. So I'm constantly tired, but very big into drones. Very passionate about drones, and I'm very big into about 3 or 4 years ago, really big into FPV. So that's really one of my passions is FPV. But I've done mapping, modeling, real estate, kind of done it all, and then decided that I was going to focus more on that. But been very fortunate to be a community manager of this community and get to know some of these guys, and just kind of lean on that community to further my business at the same time as well. So
Cool. Yeah, that's one of the things I was excited about when I found Dusty. Dusty had the funniest application for the community manager position, by the way, which I think he was the one who made me laugh the most, which I was like, yeah, I'll just pick this guy. But no, I like the fact that he had his own drone business that he was doing. So he could do, community manager with the rest of his time. So he could actually relate to the people in the community instead of just kind of talking at them. He's kind of in the trenches there with them. So, no, I appreciate you being here. Well, if you don't know who I am, I'm David Young. I founded Drone Launch Academy back in 2016, and it originally started off as purely like an FAA test prep company. At the time I started it, I was working for the FBI, doing like white collar forensic accounting stuff. I kind of just fell into that. I originally wanted to be a pilot when I was young, realized I was terrified of small airplanes, got up there, constantly thought I was going to die, that the planes were going to crash. So I was like, yeah, let me find something on the ground. So I did accounting. And again, for some reason, FBI recruited from Florida State where I was. I guess they were looking for people with low IQs at that time. So got a job with them, stayed around there for about 8 years. Started drone launch in 2016 when the exam came out. I got my FAA Advanced Ground Instructor Certificate, just a fancy way of saying I passed just like another FAA exam, so I could have that credential, so I could sound smart. I do have my pilot's license and my remote pilot certificate. We've helped like 40, I don't know, something like we have like 45,000 some odd students at Drone Launch Academy. And like, I don't know, a year or two ago, we launched Drone Launch Connect because we had several people saying to us, hey, you guys should start some type of community. I'd love to like connect with other pilots or have people to talk to, or, just a place to go and share stuff, get feedback. And I was like, I don't know if I want to do that. But we decided to go for it. I linked up with Dusty, who created it, and it's been awesome. So it's a really cool place. And we can tell you more about it later. But both Kevin and Gary are a big part of that as members. And there's some of the members that are maybe probably a little ahead of some of the other folks. So they're always really kind and sharing their advice and wisdom, things like that. So, and then Dusty does a great job of bringing in guests all the time and managing things and keeping the wheels flowing there. So there's always something to look forward to. So cool. So that's where we are. That's who everybody is. And let's get into some actual advice. I know you all have questions. So if you ask questions, we will try to get to them at the end. I see them popping up in the comments here. We can keep it relatively informal. Kevin, what we'll do is Kevin will do his talk about, we didn't actually like really prep you too much, but maybe just take us through, like, if you were going to pick 3 things to tell people that are listening who are like, hey, I really want to be successful at this. What should I do? What should I focus on? Maybe just kind of think of 3 points. Same thing with you, Gary. If someone's like, hey, I want to get into doing real estate specifically, I'm in a spot like maybe I'm, formerly in the military or switched careers or whatever it is. Maybe just kind of think of what are three main key pieces that led to your being successful in this area, and then we can have Q&A and everything at the end. So, sound good, Dusty? I'm gonna let you MC, and I'm gonna do some typing in the background while we do this. So, yeah. Kevin and Dusty,
no, you're
take
good.
it away.
Let me just start off just by saying that both of these guys are founding members of Drone Launch Connect. So they started with it from the very beginning, which is a little bit over a year and a half ago at that point. And what's been cool about it is that the whole time, they've done a good job of kind of documenting and sharing their journey along the way. And, Kevin, I'll let you kind of go first, but you've done a great job. You got in the community and kind of things started taking off. And then all of a sudden you hit some really big milestones just kind of in your own personal career. And, and you've been very open and willing to share that with the community and help other people out to kind of get to the same, like you don't hold any secrets back. And so that's one thing that I really appreciate about both of you guys. And Gary's the same thing. I'll tell you a little bit more about Gary when we get there, but Kevin, man, if you don't mind, just kind of go ahead and tell a little bit about your story.
Yeah. So like I mentioned before, this is just a side business for me. And I saw some comments in the chat asking what I do full-time for I actually work full-time for the government in DC, do a lot of data analysis and stuff like that. So during the pandemic, again, I was going just kind of stir crazy. I needed something to do. And I kind of took on the photography side of things. I had no idea how to even shoot a photo. I don't even own a DSLR camera. I had no idea what shutter speed or ISO was. And It was a hard, rude awakening when I was flying the drone. I'm like, what's ISO? I have no clue. Like, oh, you need an ND filter? I had no idea what that was. So I ended up taking classes. I actually took a bunch of the Drone Launch Academy courses, like the videography and the photo pro courses, and with Alex Harris. And he taught me a lot, and that course taught me a lot as far as video goes, and how not to shoot certain ways, and how to get certain angles, and how to frame the shots. And I learned all that as I went. So it was something I enjoy doing. I love waking up early in the morning, just getting some sunrise shots and seeing where the sun is. And I see David laughing over there, but just doing what makes me happy.
Let me interject real quick. So we had a live event last fall. A bunch of people from Drone Launch Connect came to Lakeland outside of Tampa. And like, I like to wake up early, but Kevin is an absolute machine at waking up early. If you follow this dude on Instagram, it's like every morning he's getting sunsets. And of course it was like in Lakeland, he's like, I'm waking up. What time's the sunrise? So I think I probably said sunset earlier. What time's the sunrise? Where's it coming from? He made a plan. He's like, anybody want to get sunrise shots with me? I'll be here at like 7 a.m. and stuff. I'm like,
I was way earlier than 7.
what time was it? Like 6 something? Anyways, I slept in, but there was a group of folks that woke up and they got some awesome shots with Kevin. So he's not messing around when he says he wakes up early to take sunrise photos.
With my full-time job, I start work at 5 a.m., so I'm used to being up early.
Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt, but I just wanted
No, you're good. You're good. But as far as like advice goes, just doing what makes you happy. So like stuff like that makes me personally happy. What I like may not be different than what other people like. And like Gary said, he does photography and real estate photography. I try to avoid real estate photography like it's the plague. I try to avoid it. I do have some real estate agents that are clients, and they'll call me, and I'll do quick jobs for them here and there. But like I try to avoid it like it's the plague. So it's just me personally. I don't enjoy doing it. So you have to do what makes you happy and do what you enjoy doing. If you know, what's that saying where if you have to wake up and it feels like a job, then you don't really want to be a job. So you want to do something that makes you happy and that you enjoy doing. So you got to find your niche and find what you like doing. If you like mapping and you like doing all that kind of, then by all means do it. I have some mapping drones and I've done it before. And so you just got to, again, and like Dusty loves FPV, and I've seen him all on Instagram and social media doing FPV stuff. So if that's what makes you happy, by all means, that's my biggest advice, is just find your niche, find what you like, and be good at it and try to do it that way. So.
Sweet. I like it. All right. That's your number one piece of advice. So once somebody starts doing what makes them happy, what's step 2?
If you're trying to start a business, again, I had no intentions of starting a business, but if you're trying to start a business, don't be afraid to do jobs for free or for a little bit of money, and just build your portfolio, build your skills. Again, like I said, I didn't even know what ISO and shutter speed was. If you look at some of my earlier videos in 2020, they're complete trash. And I'm flying the drone all hyper and crazy, and I'm trying to get these shots, and I'm like, they look like trash. But to me back then, I was still learning, and I was doing it for free. And sometimes customers, hey, yeah, you can fly my property or do a video for me if it's for free. They have nothing to lose. So just build your experience that way. And then eventually when you start getting the confidence and start raising your prices, and like I've told many times in the community, is now I'm at a point now where I start turning down businesses. That like the first question I ask when someone reaches out to me on my website, what's your budget and what are you looking for? And if they don't know what they're looking for and they're kind of sketchy and they're unsure and, I don't know what I really want, I can tell it's going to be a hard job and a pain to do, I sometimes turn them away or try to find someone else that can do it, because this is a side business for me and my time is valuable right now, especially now that I'm going back into work more and more full time into the office. So my time is very valuable. So I try to pick the jobs and pick and choose the jobs that are best for me and right now. So being able to have the confidence in myself that my work is valuable and that I know my worth, and hey, this is what I'm going to charge. If this job you're asking for, that's a couple $1,000 job, I'm going to put it out there. And if you say, oh no, I can only give you $200-300, I'm going to say, sorry, like I'd rather go be with my kids on the weekend playing bait. Like, so it depends what you want to do, and know your worth and know your value. I, like I said earlier in the intro, is I'll take one job for $3,000-4,000 and that'll be it for the month. And that's fine with me. Just because I know my value and I know the work that I do. So just being able to build that confidence, and just it takes practice and repetitive flying and getting used to it. So I know it's kind of a ramble there, but
no,
it's great.
I'll let you take it, Dustin.
Yeah. No, and I see and one of the things, I see a lot of questions kind of popping in, and these are all things like there's no way that we'll be able to get to some of these questions, but these are the cool things. Like I think that we're all probably The thing about being a drone pilot a lot of times is that you're kind of trying to figure it out on your own. So you're like a member of these Facebook groups, forums, whatever. And so, we're all members of like commercial drone pilots on Facebook. And so the cool thing about Drone Launch Academy is that a lot of these questions you can just post out there, and then you're going to get, the questions are going to be answered, and you're going to get a lot of feedback from the members that are, like David said, and everybody, like, I'm trying to get my business off the ground too, and we're all in the same boat. And so the cool thing is that you can really accelerate kind of your journey just by, I can tell some of these people that have tried some of these things, and they're asking for ways to get their foot in the door, or ways to just ways to grow their business. And it's cool that we can take this aggregate of experiences and put it together. But Kevin, one of the things you didn't, I don't know if you really hit on that much, though, but like was really your social media growth and stuff. Like, if you don't mind, like, tell kind of, like, if you don't mind, I don't want to tell what it was. I can't even remember now, but I know it was something crazy that I'm never probably going to hit. But what did you kind of start to see at that point?
As far as like just followers and stuff and being active, like I've gotten a lot of business from social media and just
I'm talking
posting.
about just like when you first got your first drone, you start out with 0 followers. Where are you at now?
I think I'm over 30,000. I don't know. Yeah, if you look at my posts, I haven't posted recently. I've been crazy busy. And I mentioned this in the community a lot too, if you look at my Instagram feed and social media feed, it's all personal stuff. I rarely post paid gigs on social media. So if I'm not out flying for sunrise or just for fun, that's usually what I post on social media. So I am doing jobs, I'm doing gigs, I'm doing paid gigs, but I usually don't post those on social media. But it was just getting local people in my area. I was getting shots of the sunrise or finding local lighthouses or just local attractions near me and just posting it and tagging local like news networks or local newspapers or local other social media accounts in the area and just tagging them, and people would repost my photos. Hey, it's an awesome shot of the lighthouse, and they would repost it, and it kind of just spread from there, and they got a lot of local followers that way. But then I've also gotten a lot of business that way too. We're like, oh, I saw you on Instagram. Can you do this gig for me, or can you do this real estate shot for me? And they're like, oh, I found you on social media, or so and so referred me because they saw you on social media. And I've even had people reach out to me, and they're like, oh, I was trying to find a drone pilot, and I talked to my coworkers, and like, oh yeah, I saw that guy on Instagram. I follow him on Instagram. And so just people searching me that way. And then there are other people that they work with are like recommending me or have seen my name. So that helps a lot too, even though mostly what I post on social media has nothing to do with paid gigs. So
I looked you up. You have 30,700 followers at the moment, which is growing pretty quick.
Yeah, and I see people asking like how much are you flying, and I'll tell you, like, both of these guys really are the kind of people that make you feel like you don't fly enough. I see not only am I not flying as much as I am as Kevin is, but I'm seeing that he's getting reposted by all these Royal Caribbean cruise lines and everything, and in the same way that I'm like, oh, I really need to put a drone in the air. So, I mean,
I still have footage from years ago that keeps getting reposted. Like when I was in New Orleans a couple of years ago, and that for whatever reason, those same videos keep getting posted over and over and over. I'm like, I haven't been there in a couple of years, but
dude, my local artist
post
my drone shots, So
yeah, I can do a job for a client. They want to repost my stuff sometimes. It's but so no, one of the things, Kevin, that you do, and like, I don't want to just kind of put you in anything, but as far as like, that's one thing that you've done a really good job at. It seems like every time I look at one of your stories, you're sharing some sort of a repost. So how do you, like, what is your strategy though about going on to get some, how do you get these people's attention to see your work and to encourage them to repost it? Because you're really good at that.
Yeah, I mean, you'll hear a lot of people complain now that the algorithms have changed and they all suck and Instagram's bad, and you'll hear all people complaining. But back in 2020, when I first started using hashtags and tagging people, that was the big thing. So tagging different drone accounts and local accounts and using local hashtags, that was a big thing back then. Nowadays, it's not. I'm getting a lot of growth that way. It's, again, the Instagram and Facebook algorithms are changing constantly. So it's always changing. Now the big thing is Reels, and they're competing with TikTok and all that. So you just got to keep up with the times and see what they're trending if you want to keep those type of things. But again, every post I do always has a hashtags in it, always tagging people, those type of things. So more eyes on it, the better.
And correct me if I'm wrong, but have you been able to either score like some discounts or some free trips on something like some of the cruise lines or anything? Or
not from the cruise line. I actually had a cruise line reach out to me I'm sure you've seen the news when the bridge collapsed a couple months ago in Baltimore. So when Carnival Cruise Line was coming back to Baltimore last month, they reached out to me like, "Hey, can you get this shot of the cruise ship coming back into port?" Unfortunately, I wasn't available that day, but they reached out to me first, and they're like, "Oh yeah, I saw your stuff on Instagram. I saw your website. You have great content. I can know you have quality work. We want to reach out to you." Unfortunately, I couldn't do it, so I passed it off to someone I knew locally. But just being able to be seen like that, and someone just being able to go to your website and say, "Oh yeah, I see your portfolio. You got good work. I like what you do," and then be able to reach out and contact you is definitely a good thing. But as far as like free stuff, I do get some stuff here and there, nothing too crazy. Little stuff here and there.
Kevin, quick question. Is it still true? I think this was true the last time I talked to you, that you've never really done any type of outbound stuff or outreach or solicitation for work. It has all been people finding you through social media or the internet and referrals. Is that still the case?
I still have paid $0 for advertising or anything. So the biggest thing I think right now is no cold calls. The biggest thing is search, having my website built and getting good SEO. Like if you type in Maryland or drone photography in Maryland on Google, I'm usually in the top 3. I'm definitely on the first page. So that's a good way for people to find you. If you're people that have no idea about drones, never flown a drone, they're the ones that are going to be hiring you because they're like, I have no idea. I can't do it. So I'm going to hire someone to do it. And then what they do, they go to Google and you search, drone photographer in whatever area. And then if you could be on that first page and have your Google business account set up and be top on Google business, that's the key right there. And they're always reaching out to me. So
let me do a little shameless Drone Launch Connect plug as well and say that Kevin actually taught a workshop that is posted on Drone Launch Connect for all his social media, Instagram, strategy stuff. So I appreciate him doing that. And we'll look at some of that later. But all right. Well, thanks, Kevin. Gary, why don't we give you a chance? Dusty, I'll let you take over chatting with Gary.
Let me introduce Gary here. Gary's got a very unique story. When I first met Gary, he's a very big drone guy. He's been in the drones probably longer than most of us have. And when he first kind of joined Drone Launch Connect, he was very focused and very well versed, and still is in mapping and modeling, and that was kind of his area of expertise, and that's what he liked to do and was really passionate about it. And then the best part about this story and what I like about it a lot is that Gary saw that there was like he was talking about with the real estate, that there was kind of a need, like there was some money there, and he just making a pivot in life, whether it's anytime you make a change in what you're doing is always kind of a challenge, but Gary's done a great job doing that. And he can tell his story, but it's definitely paid off. And Gary, you've done a very good job of kind of making a name for yourself and building up your reputation for your business. So if you don't mind, kind of just share a little bit about your beginnings and kind of where you're at now.
Wow, I'm not as eloquent as Kevin. I'm just from Pennsylvania up here in no man's land. No, but when I got in, like I said earlier, when I got into drones, I wanted a map. Because I'm in the farmland, and the reason why I wanted to do it is one of my first pitches I pitched to a big farm. I mean, huge farm, and I botched the holy thing up. I mean, I went in there, so you need this, you need that, and then he just turned to me and says, "How much does it cost to get a license?" And I'm like, "Oh, okay." So I learned that, and so I learned from my first little sales pitch, I guess you want to say. And he just found me flying a drone and said, "Hey, can you do this idea?" I said, "Yeah." And it was a major farm, but like I said, that wasn't meant to be. But I stayed with mapping, and I did a couple of jobs for him in the later on. But like Dusty said, first let me talk about the community real quick. The community to me is a family. I've got friends in California. I got friends in Colorado, and I've got a tight knit organization, groups of guys that we are from Drone Launch Connect, that we talk every day. We'll tell you, get your head out of your backside or whatever. Stop looking down at everything. Focus on this. But that's what we do. That's one thing. That's a little pitch for drone launch, real quick. But mapping wasn't the place to go. I mean, everybody I saw making all this money, doing mapping. I'm like, yes, yes, yes. And it's not here. And so I'm putting out feelers. And all I get is crickets up here. So then I started flying a drone. And guys, I have seen a lot of questions that says, what do you do if you don't know how to fly a drone? Get a drone and fly it. Practice it. Don't be afraid of crashing. It's going to happen. It's going to happen. Just get your skills. If you're going to go up around and do automated orbit, pull back right there, keep gimbal together. Hey, you're a real estate photographer now, with a drone. So don't be afraid to do it. So when I got into real estate, I didn't know what to do. I didn't know what to do. I never had a camera. And like Kevin, I was lucky to have a guy that's 7 foot tall who has his own video marketing group here, and he would yell at me because my ISO is too much, my exposure's overdone, and he did nothing but so he hired me to do some drone footage for him. And that's where I learned how to do that smooth drone motions. When you tell when somebody just started flying a drone, taking videos, they hit record and they just fly. And that's how their videos. And guys, keep doing it, but you're going to learn some other things, how to make it nice, smooth transitions and everything. So I was blessed when I had a guy that it was like a drill sergeant to me. So I learned that away. But I still didn't want, I still didn't feel comfortable about real estate because I didn't know how to take pictures. I bought a $500 camera, a DSLR camera, and just said, okay, let's try it. I went through Dom's course on DLC, and then I went out and learned some other things, some other courses, and I just put together. And so I guess the biggest thing is, guys, the biggest people, when I say guys, I say just non-gender specific, but when you do this is, okay, here's my military side of the house. Stop talking about it and just do it. You're going to fail. You're going to fall. Who cares? It's not about falling. It's about getting back up, you know? And I still have realtors that yell because I overexposed right here. I didn't expose right over here, but that's okay. You learn from that. You pick it up, you go. And then you fly, and everybody loves drone shots and so forth. But, you know, when you do real estate, you've got to market yourself. You got to market yourself big time. I mean, you've got to go out there. I'm not like Kevin. I don't have a website. I've got this thing called a popple. Dusty and I too. And
What is that?
if you look, a popple is this right here. It's a chip inside here that I can walk up to your phone and it just transfers all my information over to you. And so I use that as a
I was gonna
QR
say, so
code
there's your
too.
credit card data. You need to swipe
Yeah,
that.
Mm. Yeah.
that's the FBI talking in you now. but but I use that as a portfolio. And so what I've done is I put some shots on there, put some real estate footage on there. I put my price list, I put in my ordering form and everything like that. So when somebody says, "Hey, how do you do this?" First thing I do is I say, "Hey, you got your phone with you?" Yeah, click it, boom. Okay, go ahead and save me right there. Click on that right there. Boom, there's my ordering form right there. Take a look at it. And what's nice about that is it also gathers their information. So when they hit save, it sends me their contact information as well, so I can follow up with them later on. Uh, so that's one thing I do is I try to market myself. And guys, you know, we're only, I say this, in real estate, you really have to put yourself out there really hard and fast. And so you have to be willing to sometimes invest in yourself, I guess you want to say. Find you a virtual assistant that's going to market for you that'll free time up for you to go out and make the shots. Find you an editor that's going to edit your photos, so when you go home, when you take a shot, when you do a shoot, all you do is upload it to him or her. They do it and they have it back within 24 hours, so you can go out there and do more shoots. Because how do you make a lot of money in real estate, guys? It's not the high end luxury properties. You may get a couple of those, few of those, but you got to focus on where's the biggest market at. The biggest market's going to be your $500,000 and $100,000 houses. Your $1 million properties, $1 million properties plus will come sometimes, but you got to be willing to take those lower jobs. And like Kevin said, I'm adamant about doing a free shoot. If I have an agent the first time that we've ever worked together, I'll throw something free in there. I've got a shoot. I'm working with an agent on Friday. I've never worked before. She says, "How much is your staging?" I'm like, "It's free." She goes, "What do you mean?" I said, "You're a new agent. I just want to work with you. I want you to see what I can do for you." But she paid for the shoot, but she got the free staging stuff like that. So don't be afraid to put yourself out there. Don't be afraid to do free shoots, and don't be afraid of change. And get you an editor, get you somebody that's going to market for you. Because why? Kevin will tell you, you can only do so many shoots you can edit. So if you're slow at editing, you can probably do one shoot a day. All right. So that's going to cut down your income, and it's going to cut down how many times you can go out and shoot. So at the end of the day, guys, you just got to say, okay, what I want to do, and just choose it and have fun with it. Real estate to me, I thought was the worst thing in the world when I looked at it from the very beginning, but I love it. I get to go to nice people's houses. I get to meet a lot of nice people. I have agents that take me to lunch. I have agents inviting me to their brokerage to teach them classes. You know, it's the bomb.
Now, Gary, I have a follow-up question for you. Um, you said you don't even have a website. You just have a pop hole. I assume you're not just walking around the streets bumping your arm up against everybody's phone. Like, what was like? Think back to sort of the beginning when you were doing this, to try to relate to everybody who's probably listening who doesn't have a current stable of clients. Like, how did you get those first, 2, 3, 4 clients in the door? Period. Like, were you just telling everybody you knew? Did you go to an association meeting? Like, do you remember how that happened?
Was that to me?
Yeah, it was Gary.
Yeah.
Sorry.
I didn't hear a single thing you said. It was just
Gary, no, he was asking.
Did you hear me, Kevin?
He was just asking.
hold
I
on.
I heard you.
Let me cut this off and go to my other mic.
I was gonna say, I was wondering why you looked so confused while I was talking.
I could jump in too while he's getting that if you want.
Go ahead, Kevin.
I mean, for me, like Dusty mentioned before, a lot of it was on social media. And again, me back during the pandemic, there was a lot of businesses and breweries and wineries that were just kind of struggling to get business. So I was like, hey, if you give me permission to come on your property, I'll come out and fly my drone and do a video for you. You can put it on social media and I'll tag you guys in it. And just getting clients that way and customers that way. And again, at the very beginning, I was doing it for free, but then I started, hey, I'll charge you $50 or $100, and started working that way and just getting my name out there and building clients that way.
Yeah. Dusty, while Gary's, oh, do you hear us, Gary? You're muted, by the way.
And also, like Gary, I don't have a Popple, but I have a business card that has my logo on it. It's exactly the same thing that Popple does. You just tap it and it gives everyone the information, but it has my logo on it. So it's pretty cool.
Yeah.
There's a bunch of different ones out there. There's all different companies that do that.
Yeah, I like Pop-Up because it has all the analytics with it. I can see who's doing it, how many people visited, and where it's going.
Nice. All right, Gary, you can hear me now, right?
Yeah, I can hear you now.
What I was asking was, I was shocked to hear that you don't really even have an active website yet. You're doing, 5, 10K months, which is pretty impressive to me. So I'm just curious if you could think back to when you were, first starting, maybe those first 2, 3, 4, 5 clients, how those came about, because I assume most of the people who are in the comment section or watching are not sitting on a stable of consistent clients, but they're sort of thinking about it. So what did you do to kind of, when you were starting, to get over that initial hurdle where no one knew who you were?
Well, first of all, I started Instagramming. I started just trying to find agents all over the place, and then I started hitting the wall. Basically, I started hitting walls after walls after walls after walls, and then I met somebody else that has introduced me to a virtual assistant, and then they were able to market me 24/7 basically, and pushed and pushed and pushed, because all I was getting is I was door knocking basically on brokerages. I was like, hey, my name is Gary. You need a drone? No. Oh, okay. Oh, we use a photographer over here. He's really good with, he does this and this. You do this. I'm like, what's that? So I went out and started doing things before I really knew what I was doing. But all those mistakes I did, I learned from, and now my first agent, I remember him like it was yesterday. Well, it was yesterday, but I started talking to him, and he booked me for 5 shoots just because I was sitting and talk to him. I went to him one time. It was a free shoot. The first one was a free shoot. So, okay, since January the 1st to now, I have driven 8,647 miles. All right. I drive 2 hours one way to a shoot because I live in between Erie and Pittsburgh. I have to drive. I don't have much of a, I do have a population here, but it's really small houses. I have to go to the bigger cities, and I'm 2 hours from either way from the major cities. So one thing is, like, again, you're not afraid to go out and put yourself out. So when I would go knocking on doors, I would drive 2 hours. And anybody ever been to Pittsburgh? Pittsburgh is not fun to drive and get caught in traffic. Any big major cities that way. But yeah, I when I first started, I was knocking on agents' doors. I knocked locally here first just to learn the language, just to know, hey, because I had a friend that also shot real estate. He's a 7-foot guy. And I told him I wouldn't be professional, not venture into his territory, and that's how we work together, still together. He doesn't have a drone license. I still have, I fly drones, so he still hires me every once in a while. But I learned a lot from just failing, going out there and doing that. And so when I met my agent in Pittsburgh for the first time that hired me for 5 more jobs, I was able to sit and talk to them, understand the pain and suffering they're going through. That's the key thing is when you find your target, don't find how to fix it. Find out what started their pain and say, okay, we got the tools to do this, but don't try to sell your tool, but get them to talk to you, get them to find out, okay, well, how long you've been looking. And I'm sorry, I'm pitching on something else now, but you've got to get yourself out there and not be afraid to say, hey, you want this, how about this or this? And I didn't have a system in place when I first went, but now I do. I have a back office that basically they can go on to and see my availabilities and log in there and set that date and time with me, so it just pops in every day. And I told Dusty one time, it's kind of nice to wake up in the morning and look in your account and you see 5 or 6 jobs pop in. Just like today, I'm like, well, it looks like my month's already over, and I've got 6 more jobs just popped in before I even got on the call here. So you first, you can't be afraid to do things. And it's going to cost. If you're going to get your VA, you got to set aside, you got to do business and everything like that. So I'm going to stop talking. I'm rambling. I apologize, but yeah, I'm very passionate about doing this.
No,
and one of the things too is Gary. One of the things I don't think you really talked about too much though is that you didn't have a lot of ground camera like DSLR experience, and so you got into that. But another thing too, and I was telling David earlier, is his backup camera is his iPhone, and so I know that he's got the shift cam lens, and he's done a good job of learning how to use his iPhone as a backup on a gimbal to go through and do some of these real estate shoots. So it's I feel like I don't have any experience with the ground camera stuff, and a lot of that kind of does intimidate me. But for you to kind of walk in and I feel like now you could teach a course on that. Another one thing I don't think we did say is that Gary does actually, he has a workshop in one of our workshop library that is on nonverbal communication. And so he has gone through several courses and does a great job of teaching how to pick up on nonverbal cues, like when you're talking to a customer, to kind of figure out ways that, you can kind of identify as just body language ways to communicate more effectively. But
whenever I hear of nonverbal communication, I just think about the scene from Talladega Nights when Ricky Bobby was. All right. Well, I was just gonna comment. We've been talking about Drone Launch Connect. Obviously, Kevin and Gary are both big helps in there and are inspiration to lots of people. Give out a lot of advice. But I was going to touch on, I've been around drone pilots for the last 8 years, people at companies, doing oil and pipeline inspections, people who do it for their careers, and then a ton of people who do it for their own business, right? Real estate. So, or not real estate, like entrepreneurship. Could be real estate, could be they do mapping stuff, inspection stuff. They do solar, surveys. I got a guy who he won a free mapping training that we gave away to Lakeland. He did that, and then he went out and he got a huge job mapping cemeteries. I was like, what do they even want for that? I don't know, but they needed a bunch of cemetery data, so he did that and got paid pretty well. That, again, Gary, I think it just depends on where you are in the country, right? So, you hear a lot of people talk about, I hear a lot of people get discouraged with drone business, right? Like, oh, it's saturated and things like that. And, any business where there's a seemingly barrier to entry, like, to be a real estate agent, we have to have a real estate agent license, but like, it's probably not that hard to get the real estate agent license. Just like a Part 107 license. I mean, yeah, you got to study, and you can't. I wouldn't say you just like wake up and take it, but like, if you're a reasonably intelligent person and you study for a little bit, you'll pass the test. So that's not really going to be the thing that sets you apart, right? And so I hear a lot of people who they want to be successful, but they lack a few things. I mean, like, if you want to be successful in anything, you got to have some knowledge. You want to get some experience, and like Gary was saying, you just got to learn through failing if you don't really know what you're doing, right? The fastest way to accelerate your experience and your progress is to find other people who have done what you want to do and ask them, hey, am I on the right path? Is this what I should be doing? I remember when I started Drone Launch Academy in 2018, I was under the misconception that if you just make a product and put it on the internet, everyone will buy it and you'll become very wealthy. And that is not the case, as I found out. I think I launched my prep course or whatever, and I was like, okay, so 50% of the people are going to open this email, and then 50% of them are going to buy it. And I think I sold like 2 or something like that I made like $200, and I was pretty bummed. So I didn't know what I was doing, right? I didn't know how to do marketing. I didn't know how to run a business. Just like most people, when you first start out, you're just like totally lost. So yeah, I needed to find some mentorship. I needed to find some community. So I joined this guy I'd been following for a while, Pat Flynn at the time. And I got in a group of that. There was like 10, 15 people in there who were in a similar place as me. And I could say, hey, here's what I'm trying to do. And they would give me advice and shortcuts. And I was able to chop off so much time on what I was trying to do. And now I just try to make that a practice in my business. It's like, hey, we're trying to grow here. Who's done that before? Or like, hey, we want to make a course on, everybody wants to know about this topic. I just go find someone else. I don't pretend to know about that. I just go find someone else who is a professional there and say, hey, do you want to partner together on that? Right. So that's really the more you can build up your network of other people who know what they're doing, or have similar experiences, that'll really help you learn a lot faster. Second thing on my little lecture here is starting a business or doing a business can be a very lonely experience if you don't have other people going through it with you, right? You do something, it's frustrating. Somebody seems like they're going to do business with you, and then they just straight up ghost you, and you're just like, oh, why? What's happening? Or you have a problem with a partner or a team member or whatever. You just want someone to like bounce ideas off of or talk to. And I didn't have that for the longest time in business. I didn't really have like any employees or anything like that. And that's just a tough spot to be. It's just pretty discouraging. And entrepreneurship, I'd say, is like probably more than 50% a mental game than it is like a skills game, like just staying positive, not quitting, and all these things, right? So having just that people to like say, hey, I'm struggling with this, and they can, encourage you, keep going, keep you accountable to what you're trying to do, is pretty valuable. So I know that's what a lot of people in the community like about it. So we've been talking about it. We have a community called Drone Launch Connect. I'll share my screen real quick. I was gonna show you a few things, and then I can let Dusty talk about it as well. I see a lot of questions in here, which I was gonna show you. For instance, everybody's asking all these questions in here, like, hey, do I need an LLC? Or what is this? What is an ND filter? Or, what's a good editing company to start with? Like, all these questions. I'm like, if people, this is the kind of stuff you would just post in there and people would comment on it and give you advice and help you out. So I just right before this, I went on and I took some screenshots of this kind of stuff. And I'm going to see if I can share my screen. I'll just show you what it looks like. And real quick, what we're going to do now is we're trying to make the community a really like tight knit place. So we're going to actually close. It used to be just open. You could join anytime, but we're actually going to close the community now because we want to have a better onboarding process. So it's only going to open up once a quarter now. And this way we can have a whole group of people join at the same time. And then we can onboard them and say like, hey, welcome class of, quarter 3 of 2024, whatever. And you'll go through, you'll have a specific onboarding process. You'll be like matched with a buddy. You'll go through stuff together and you can like kind of be in a cohort group with other people who join at the same time and build closer relationships and friendships. And it'll be closed during that time. And then we'll do once a quarter. We'll give people a window of opportunity to get in with the next sort of like incoming class, if you will. Right. So it's open. It'll be open right now. And I'll tell you about that in a second. But we're doing it quarterly. So you sign up for 3 months and then you're in there for 3 months. And then, you can choose to stay in after that, obviously, and stay in the group and learn, or you can bow out either way. So let me show you real quick if I can figure out how to share my screen here. Share screen. Okay. So here's one. Can you guys see this?
Okay. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Someone said this was 14 days ago, 15 days ago. David said, hey, I'm to the point where I need separate bank accounts. My bank says I need to go to the county clerks and register as DBA. Does that sound right? Like, again, like, I don't know what to do. I'm hearing this. I need some advice. And then there was 11 comments on this. People are saying, hey, here's what I do. Here's how much it cost me. Here's what I did. So you got a lot of pretty quick advice on that, right? Let's do another one. I had to click 4 buttons every time I want to share my screen. There we go. Hey, this wasn't, I think, the real estate one. I went back a little bit further for this. Oh, wait. It's showing me a different one. Roger. Hey, I have a client that asked me to take some interior images of a large apartment complex. Here it is. It has 360 units. A few other minutes, blah, blah, blah. He's asked questions like, hey, what do I do? 6 comments. So when people hit a roadblock of, I'm not really sure what to do now, ask a question. Another one was asking for advice on, hey, here's my drone video. Can you give me some feedback on it? People said, sure, here's some feedback. I don't want to do like a billion of them, but I'll do one more. On the regulation side of things. Let's see if this one works. Yeah. So Brett, he was like, hey, I submitted a request for a waiver because you're not technically allowed to fly over people or moving vehicles. And he shared his experience of how he got that waiver, what he did, the process, going through it all. So just, these are people who are, hey, here's what I'm going through. Here's what here's what I did. And here's what's helping me, right? And this is stuff that you just can't necessarily find by Googling it. So that's one of the community aspects of it that people like. And then I was going to do one more thing where people are asking a lot of these things is, if you're looking for specific advice, Dusty interviews people, I think every other week. I think we have 40 interviews in there now, something like that. We call them expert Q&A.
Close, yeah.
39.
Close.
All right.
Mm-hmm. I think 37, 38 is where we're at. Yeah.
I think there's more. I looked in here just now. Hold on. So let's look. Can you guys see this? Yes, no?
Mm-hmm.
All right. So 39. So someone asked, hey, do I need an LLC? So we interviewed tons of different experts, from accountants to business owners to this is a photogrammetry software company. This guy specializes in agriculture. Both Gary and Kevin have been on here. So, there's hours and hours. There's probably like 40 plus hours mapping. This Alex Kavanaugh's done really high end cinematography shoots. So there's hours and hours and hours of stuff in here. And you're like, I'm not gonna sift through all that stuff and watch it. But we got this really cool tool. You can click on this little icon there. And if you're looking for like, hey, I want some advice from experts on an LLC. If I type in LLC and I just hit search, it searches through all of the transcripts, through all of those videos, and you can see where they're at. So this is actually my company's CPA came on here to talk about taxes and business stuff. And so you can see everywhere where he said the word LLC. If you click on that, it'll take you to that exact point in the video, and then you can
They
just
use
watch it.
faxes, of course. So if you have access to a
You can see exactly what they have to say about an LLC. You can go down here. Another one was like, I think somebody asked about ND filters, or let's do pricing. So like, hey, I want to know more about pricing. What do people who were interviewed have to say about pricing? Well, you can come down here. Ooh, look, who's this? Gary Scott, airborne imagery. Let me click here. I can go and see exactly
All right.
what
Now,
Gary Scott has to say about pricing. And look right here, he's showing
this is not what
his pricing.
this is not what my
pricing list. And obviously you can make this bigger so you can actually read it and everything. But now I got to figure out how to get out of it. Here we go. So whatever topic it is that you want, we probably have an expert that we have brought on to talk about it and to get advice on it. And you can get some quick answers there. There was another one. I typed in ND filters. It pulled up a video from Alex Kavanaugh. And let's say you type something in and nothing came up. All you do is reach out to Dusty and say, hey, Dusty, I'm struggling with this issue. Can you get somebody on? And we have like a pretty wide network. This is a hotel room because I'm at a conference in Denver. I was in Denver with Dusty last year. We go to conferences and we meet people all the time. I met a guy today who's got a PhD in geographic information systems, and he works for Esri. And he's like, yeah, I'll link up with you guys and do a Q&A. So, like people, we meet really smart people all the time. I make that like my full-time job is to expand my network of smart people in the drone world. And we want to make those people accessible to you that you might not be able to just call up on your own. Right. So we have that. I'm gonna show you one other thing, and then I'll shut up about it, I promise, and we'll get to Q&A. We have, these are things that Kevin and Gary have also contributed to very kindly. Workshops. So these are all like 45-minute to hour and a half workshops. Don't hate the thumbnails. I made some of them. Other people on our team made some of them. We're not graphic designers, right? But so like, I can't remember which one you made, or which is it organic social media growth for your drone? But I think this might be Kevin.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So here's Kevin's stuff. You can click it and you can watch.
Visit Maryland, for instance. I could tag that, move it over. I'm not going to do that on this post. I'm going to delete it. Share to Facebook, share to Twitter.
On Instagram.
Put in there.
How he does stuff.
The construction.
You ever show your face on here?
For some of my equipment, paid for a new drone, paid for some gear that I need. So
good. He's in the same exact place that you're looking at him right now. But we've got courses on everything from, these are like mini courses. So we got everything from business foundations, marketing your drone business. We did one on pricing. We did one on maximizing DJI flight modes. We actually sent out a big survey to say, hey, what do you guys want to learn? So we have those in the library. We're going to be adding more. So we're going to do more member-driven learning. So, hey, if there's a member and they know a lot about a certain topic, we're going to say, hey, let's do a live thing teaching everything, the other members about this. One thing that's cool that Dusty's going to be doing over this next quarter that we talked about that I'm about to commit him to right now is we're going to do a live FPV build. So if you don't know what FPV is, it's first person view. So we're going to be building a drone together sometime over the next quarter, where if you want to participate, you can order your parts and we'll get on Zoom calls, we'll get on live calls, and we'll start building, and Dusty's going to teach us how to build a drone, which I'm pumped about because I've never actually built an FPV drone. Dusty's just gotten me into those recently. So if you want to learn how to do that, that's going to be an option for you in the community. So just a lot of cool stuff. All right. So I'm going to give you the link if you want to do that. So there's other drone communities.
Can I just interrupt real quick?
Please.
Just because I feel like we missed a few things. So like, yeah, we're going to do the drone thing. It's one of those things I've talked about with the community. We've got a lot of people just really interested. I'm probably responsible for a lot of that on the FPV things, but with the Avata and some of the stuff coming out, there's a lot more people. The entry point's gotten a lot easier to get into. But that being said, one of the things that we didn't talk about, the community, like the forum's great, the past Q&A, like Q&As, all those recorded, the workshops, but also we get together for 6 or 7 different live events each month. So that's, outside of the Q&A, there's probably about 5 other events that we get together for things focused on, one specifically focused on FPV, but then we have business discussions, where we get together and talk about his business, what's going on, sales techniques or whatever. But then we do happy hours. And, I can say like, that's really where kind of the meat on the bone is when you can go and attend those things and really to connect with people face to face and just start asking questions. And there's a lot of times that we'll say, hey, this is going to be a business discussion or whatever. And then somebody brings up a topic, that's not related to that at all, but that's kind of where the conversation goes. And so one of the things that I think that I struggle with the most with about this community is there's so much good things going on about it. But when I ask the community members, like, what is it about this that really keeps you around? It's always just the community, and it's not the workshops. We had discounts specifically exclusively for the community. It's not the recorded live events or anything. It really is just the network of people and the kind of the brain trust of all the ideas and experiences there. So that's the only thing I wanted to say.
Yeah, no, I'm glad you made that distinction. And oh yeah, one more thing too. Once a year, we all get together for whoever would like to come. We all get together in person. We did that last fall. So I think this year we're going to do it in early November. So whoever wants to come is if you're a member of the community, there's no charge. You can fly in, meet everybody, hang out. We did some workshops. We flew drones together. We had dinners together, and just kind of had a great time and learned from each other there. So yeah. So normally there's other drone communities out there. I'm not going to name any names or bash anyone, but I'll just say they're more expensive and you get fewer things inside of them. And so we try to make our community pretty affordable because we know a lot of people in there are just starting off. So it was $29 a month before. So we just moved to quarterly only. So it's $87 for 3 months, and you get access to basically everything we showed you. So all of those past Q&As that you can search through, all the future ones, all the events, happy hours, and everything. I think we've got something like 20 workshops in there right now. You can come to the live event if you want, or you can pay annually, and it's like $290. You get like 2 months free, something like that. So that's the pricing. If you want on it, we're also, anybody who signs up tonight, since I like to reward webinar people, we're going to give you a free drone launch t-shirt. We'll make we have a Drone Launch Connect t-shirt. We'll send you a Drone Launch Connect t-shirt. Those cost $20. So literally we will give away like 25% of whatever you'll pay just to send you a t-shirt. But that's all right. So if you go to, I'll post it here somewhere. Okay, I can make a banner. Let's see this. I made this. It's dlcjoin.com. Let's see if that works. All right, if you go to DLC, Drone Launch Connect join.com, it'll take you to the page where you can check out there. And if you are going to join Drone Launch Connect, just say I'm in the comments so we know who's joining. And once you get in there, you'll have access to Drone Launch Connect. The onboarding that I was talking about will start on July 1st. We'll have instructions on what to do, different assignments, help you get acclimated to the community, introduce yourself, kind of group you with your cohorts and your buddies and ambassadors and all that stuff. So that's the deal right now. The community is going to close on Friday, whatever that is, the 28th. That's when we're going to close the community. But yeah, that's it. Let's go to some Q&A from people. I know we've been kind of doing Q&A for this time, but if you guys have more questions about drone business, different types of drones, let's hear it. Oh yeah, somebody said, where can I sign up? You just go to dlcjoin.com. Let me know if that, Matt, sweet, nice to have you in. Seawater, nice to have you in. I'm assuming that works for you guys since you just said I'm in. Karen Perkins, is that link working? I just made it. How will the new program affect current members? If you're already a current member and you're monthly, it'll stay the same. I mean, the price is the same. $29 a month is $87 for a quarter. We're just closing the community so new people can't join afterwards. That way we can kind of onboard everyone in one group, all the new people. Cool. Sweet, Keith. Good to hear. All right, here's a question. I'll pop this up. Does anyone use drones for indoor photography? Is the Avata 2 a good drone for indoor videos of restaurants? I don't know, Kevin or Gary, do you guys have experience using the Avata 2?
I have the original one. I haven't bought the new one yet. But if you look at my Instagram feed, my most recent one, there was a new bar arcade opening near me. So they had me do a fly through of their new bar and arcade that they had. So I've done it a few times for restaurants. I've done a couple hotels where like the hotel was overlooking the lake. So I flew the Avata right through a hotel room and out at the balcony on over the lake and all sorts of things. So I do use the Avata for stuff like that. I know Dusty does more FPV and has the actual FPV drones, but I'm not as good as him. So I just use the Avata and I cheat.
So I think the Avata 2 is great. Actually, the only time I've flown an Avata was indoors, and it was Kevin's Avata at the live event. We flew around the conference room. There's some really cool things about that I liked. But that's probably when David was talking earlier about that we're going to be doing a build. Like since the Avata has come out, like the Cinewhoops, like the ducted little 3-inch FPV drones really have taken off as far as popularity because you can fly them outside, but they're also, you can get to the points where you can fly them inside pretty easily as well. So that's probably going to be what we're going to be building in the community together as a group at that point.
Got one right behind me there.
Goal, yeah. So I'm going to try to make sure that we've got like a package deal so everybody's got the same components, so that we're all somewhat on the same page when we're going through the build. And it's like I built several of these FPV drones, and it doesn't matter if I built two side by side, I'm going to have two sets of different problems for whatever reason. It's just that's how it always seems to go. So that's why my goal is to save you from all the headache that I had to do going through, the YouTube and everything else to go through. And I'm going to try to make that a little bit faster.
Now, Dusty, it's even if let's say somebody got different, they didn't get the same kit or whatever, they wanted to build a different type. It's like the same type of, there's a flight controller and there's a battery and it's the same sort of principle, right? No matter what build.
Same components.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. No, so it's not, you don't have to stick with what we've got. If you just want to build one, like say that we do go with like the 3-inch Cinewhoop, but if you want to go with like a 5-inch freestyle quad, so you can go out there and just like do backflips and barrel rolls, whatever you want to do, it's going to be the same. Actually, that's probably a little bit easier to build just because parts are a little bit bigger and you've got more room to make mistakes when you're soldering. So
yeah. It was funny when you were talking about you and Kevin were flying your FPV. So if anybody doesn't know what FPV is, you ever see people wearing goggles flying drones and they're like the racing style drone. That's like a first person view is what FPV stands for. But I was looking for Dusty. I was walking around outside when we were in Florida, and I see these two little drones flying around in the sky. I'm like, dude, where is he? I think I was calling you, but you were flying your drone with
yeah.
So then I was trying to find like where the drones were going, and I was chasing them, and you guys were around a corner somewhere. So, anyways, but I'm excited about that. All right, Snap says, great name by the way, for areas that require LANC, which is low altitude area notification capability, something like that, basically FAA approval, instant stuff, or any waiver to fly. Has anyone ever requested for your waiver approval prior to purchasing your drone footage? I've never had someone ask me to see my approval. Have you had that, Kevin or Gary? Or
not necessarily a LANC approval. Actually, yeah, yes and no. I've gotten the one through Drone Zone where I was actually near a military base, and I had to get Drone Zone approval and the FAA approval that way. It wasn't through LANC. And then I was out there flying. It's actually for NOAA, and they needed to make sure all the T's were crossed, I's were dotted, everything was in order. So I sent all that to them. And then I was actually out there flying the job, and some park ranger comes flying up and starts screaming at me, "You can't fly here, this and that." I'm like, here's the paperwork. I'm like, don't bother me. I'm like, here's the paperwork. He's like, I've never seen anyone have this approval before. You're right close to the military base. I'm like, I know, but here's the approval. He's like, I've never seen anyone have this before. I'm like, yeah, get out of my way. I'm trying to do this job. So I wasn't that. I'm being a little dramatic.
Guy.
Yeah, I'm being a little dramatic here. I wasn't that. Of course, I'm professional, but yeah.
Yeah, right.
But and then another trick Gary says about giving free stuff and offering free jobs, it kind of made me think of that is I often give people freebies. If I'm near an airport and I have to get LANC approval, I'm like, oh yeah, I'll give you the authorization for free. I gotta do all this approval. You're near an airport. Normally I charge people $50, but I'll do it for free. And they think they're getting something value added, and realistically, it took me 30 seconds on my phone. But I even put on my invoice. I'm like, oh, FAA authorization, and I put like a 0 line item, like I'm giving them a discount, and people are, so I'm not really doing one over on them. I'm giving them something for free, but people don't know the difference. Yeah, thanks for hooking me up. I appreciate it. And So
Yeah.
it's a good tip.
I've gotten several comments about the DJI drone ban, and let me I can weigh in on this a little bit since I did some digging around, and I think I did a couple like Instagram reels or shorts. I don't know. Our content manager Daria comes up with all these topics that I have to record content for and research on, but it's good. It forces me to look into things. So let me tell you what I know about the DJI ban, and you got any of the other three of you can correct me if you think I'm incorrect. So when they say DJI ban, they're not necessarily saying if you own a DJI drone, it will now be incapacitated and unable to fly. The way things work in the United States is the Federal Communication Commission (FCC) is in charge of regulating the spectrum in the airwaves. So that all the radio waves that happen in the air, I'm not going to get into all the sciencey stuff of it, probably particularly because I don't know it. But there's all these different waves, frequencies, and they manage who gets access to which types of frequencies. So if you want to sell a commercial product that uses the radio waves, you have to get approval from the FCC to let your device communicate over that radio frequency. And so whenever DJI wants to sell a new drone in the United States, they have to submit stuff to the FCC and say, hey, here's our drone, here's the equipment, here's what it looks like, here's how it communicates. So there's spectrum that communicates for like the actual drone control. The drone communicates the video feedback to the controller. That's all using different radio waves and different frequencies. So they have to get approval from the FCC to do that. And that's how a lot of times people know a new drone's coming out. They're like, oh, DJI is going to release this new drone, because they'll monitor the FCC site and they'll see that DJI just requested approval for new spectrum, right? So what it would do is it would add DJI to a list that says the FCC is no longer going to authorize new spectrum use or radio wave use for DJI. It will not render your old drone useless. So if you have a Mavic 2 or like a Mini 3 Pro or whatever, it's not like all of a sudden it's going to not work. They're not going to revoke old approvals, but they are just not going to grant new approvals. So it would essentially bar the DJI from creating new drones and selling them in the United States, because the FCC won't approve the radio connections and they won't be able to operate. Now, this might end up trickling into DJI not supporting like firmware updates for their drones in the US, or support or other things like that. So eventually your drone might not get firmware updates it might otherwise get, or it might not be supported from a customer support perspective. From my knowledge, DJI doesn't have the most fantastic customer support anyways to begin with, so it's not like you're going to be missing out on a whole lot there. But your drones will not turn into a paperweight, as someone said. It will still work, but DJI just won't be able to sell new drones. Now, that said, the law has not passed yet. It did pass one of the chambers of Congress. I think it's sitting in another one. And this particular provision is buried inside of the National Defense Authorization Act. So someone's going to have to go find it and be like, ooh, I don't like this section. Let's get that out of there. Because what it's doing is it's adding DJI to the covered list. And there's a few companies on there that you're not allowed to do, government's not allowed to do business with. So that's the main thing when people say that they're not going to be able to authorize new radio frequency connections for the drones. That's how I understand it. So, and an interesting fact, I'm just going to point it out. I'm not going to say that there's any real motive there, but I did read an article where someone pointed out that the current head of Skydio Regulatory Affairs previously worked for the congressperson or senator who is the lead sponsor for this bill. So seems slightly convenient to me that there's that connection there. It would be very good for Skydio if DJI couldn't be sold. I'm sure it's all harmless and just a total coincidence, but maybe not. So anyways, that's what I know about it. Hopefully that helps. Cool. All right. What other stuff? Will you be able to buy batteries and accessories? I mean, yeah, I'm sure there'll be a pretty big used market, but they might get more expensive since there's not, they probably won't be making new ones. Is it?
Come on in there about going to Australia. Hold the event in Australia. You see the comment about Australia in there?
Like hold our drone launch live event in Australia.
Yeah.
That would be fun. Maybe slightly cost prohibitive, but would be fun.
It's a business expense.
Yeah. All right, here's one. Sorry if I haven't gotten to your question. Just feel free to ask it again because I can see the bottom. FPV fellas, what's a pricing estimate for FPV fly-throughs?
I'll just say, like, that is, I'm from Arkansas, and so we're not always the most, believe it or not, like, I guess some parts of the state are pretty innovative, but from where I'm at, it's just a lot of small town local businesses. And so I know that there's, we've got some large businesses here, then we've got a lot of small businesses don't necessarily have the budget to do a lot of things or aren't really even, for the most part, using any sort of, I can see a lot of times where I think somebody would benefit from advertising on Instagram or something. But a lot of times, like, most of these companies don't even have anything but a Facebook page as their company website. So typically I don't put a drone. I tell everybody my minimum is $150 an hour with a minimum of 2 hours. And that's just kind of where I start out with any sort of a drone job. And then a lot of times I just kind of fill it out with who the customer is and what they're looking for. If they're looking for a complete edit, I'd say probably minimum is around $500 for me, and that maybe includes an edit, but that's about nothing more than a minute-long video. But I'm willing to work with, whoever it is here locally that, and a lot of times I'll be honest, like if it's something really cool, like I really want to fly, there's a lot of times I'd fly something for free and I'm trying to pretend like I just want to charge them something. I try not to let them know that I'm really excited to be here and I'll do this whether you pay me or not. So it's but flying inside like real estate's kind of a tricky thing. I know somebody had asked a question on that, and so there's a lot more a little bit more skill and kind of like pre-planning stuff that goes into that as far as planning out lines and then going through and flying and then editing. There's a lot of work that goes into that a lot of what I struggle with here in Arkansas is either I see some real estate agents that really see the value and the benefit of that, and then you get some of these guys that, we got a lot of people that are just that throwing a drone up in the air, and real estate agents that don't have their Part 107. And I've got some friends that are doing it, so I just kind of more focus. If I'm doing any sort of interior stuff, it's focusing more on the commercial side of things or like the higher end residential side of things. But I'll shut up and Kevin let you kind of talk.
Yeah, I see another question there kind of about like charging separately for editing and flying. Sometimes I do. If you go on my website, I do have some like bundle prices that I'll put in there. Sometimes I find it's easier for people to be like, this is the price. I'm not going to charge you per hour. Like for me in my head, I'm like, it's only an hour shooting, an hour editing. It'll be done within 2 hours. So I'll just give them a bundle price. Here's the flat rate. And some people are like that better. So I have those on my website. So usually it's included in there. But sometimes I do separate for video editing and flying itself. So, but like Dusty said, they're usually around the minimum. Usually now is like $350, usually $500 depending. So,
well, and kind of talking about earlier where we were talking about some of the waiver stuff. Sorry, David. The only time I've actually ever had to provide proof of a waiver was I was doing an FPV job, and it was at the music venue, and they actually wanted a copy of the waiver to show that I was able to fly over people with the drone and everything. But that's also something like what Kevin was saying, like not every time will I charge somebody for that, but I'll make sure that they know that I had to go through the effort of putting together a waiver. Because a lot of times, a lot of people will charge for if I've got to get a specific waiver for the project. That's more work on my end, depending on how complicated the job is as well. So that's, even if I don't charge for it, I'm going to either say it's a line item and like I give it to you or whatever, but it's another way to just kind of create some value for yourself. But it is work too. It's not,
Yeah. No, I was just going to say, while you guys were talking about that, I went over to the interview Q&A database and typed in pricing. And I just want to let you know here with Juan Quiones, who does FPV for luxury properties in Miami, talks all about his pricing right here at minute 22:40. You can listen all about it if you're a Drone Launch Connect member. So just another shameless plug here for more finding that in there.
Hey, just so, if you don't mind, when we talk about waivers and stuff like that, guys, it's very important. Like when I do real estate shoots, the first thing I do is when I get a job is I look up on aloft. Is it in a controlled airspace? If it's not, we're good to go. One time I got I had to do a waiver, and then FAA got a hold of me because became under investigation because I was infringing on another photographer's area who then reported to me. I then sent the stuff. I keep everything. I'm meticulous about keeping everything back. I then forwarded that to the FFA, which then turned around and hired me as part time, basically pro bono, whatever for the FAST team. So I help do the investigations now on drones here in northwestern Pennsylvania, just because I keep all my stuff organized.
Yes, sir. You can't beat him.
Both of
joining
you
the
guys are on the
library.
FAST team, correct? Yeah.
Yep.
I didn't even think about that.
Smart man.
Cool.
All right. What other questions we have? How do you protect your intellectual property? Anyone want to take that one?
It's hard. I've had a lot of people steal my stuff and edit it and change the filters, and I mean, I just report it. Sometimes there's only so much you could do, but
for like Kevin, I also do drone work on the side as well, but that's very hard to protect that. But for my photography work, there is a copyright right there that they sign and they have to agree to before they even download their photos. So it's just like if a real estate agent is representing this property and they download those photos, and then he decides to go to the property and then turns over the photos to another agent, they can't do that. The other agent then has to pay me to be able to represent those, because I keep the rights to the photos. I just give them marketing rights for it, basically.
Yeah. I know a little bit about this because I had to get involved in a little bit of legal action, unfortunately. But if you create a work, if you take a photograph, if you create a video, anything like that, you implicitly own or you own that copyright no matter, like, just from that point forward. It's an automatic copyright. Now, to enforce that copyright, let's say you literally wanted to like sue someone, you have to register that copyright with the copyright office. You can do that afterwards. So, like, let's say you had a photograph, right, and you put it and you had it on your website, and let's say Verizon steals it. They're not going to do that probably, but Verizon takes it off your website and uses it in a national ad campaign. You could then be like, oh heck no. You could then go get it registered with the copyright office and then get an attorney to send them a demand letter saying, hey, you need to pay me for that. So we did have somebody steal some of our intellectual property and then was reselling it for about a year and a half. And they made, I think, 7 figures, not just our stuff. They packaged it in with some other stuff they were selling. And then when we approached them about it, they were just like, oh, yeah, that's just a big misunderstanding. But luckily, we had registered all of that with the copyright office, and we're able to settle a mutually agreeable thing. But yeah, you can enforce that if it becomes a problem. All right. Let's see. Got some more DLC people in. That's excellent. Yeah, what do you guys think about watermarks on photos and videos? Do you think that's too tacky, or do you do that?
I usually don't do watermarks, and most clients don't want them. Yeah, even on my Instagram, some people do, but even like on my Instagram, social media, I don't put it on. Like,
yeah, watermark can be removed. They can be removed very easy now these days.
Yeah, especially with AI stuff. Ooh, here's a good one. I'm in the process of getting my license for spraying with unmanned aircraft. Do you have many in this space? I think someone else said this was did Grant Puckrin talk about this on his DLC Q&A?
Yeah. I think Grant talked about this a little bit, and actually one of the guys that I work with here in Arkansas has gone through the recent, because the FAA has, I think in the last 6 months, kind of changed that process up as far as what you need to get licensed to do any sort of spraying. And so we do have access, like both Grant and the other guy that I'm referring to are in the community, and they can, it's different, because you got to have your application license. And I know that it is a separate, outside of the 107, it's a separate license that you got to have as well. So
I just typed in spray. I'm just going to keep doing this. Look at all the stuff that comes up. Look at all these things in the interviews. Click on here. Let's see what Grant has to say. Boom. Straight to that point.
So That's a really good question. Good.
He said that's a really good question. All right. There you go. I'm gonna be annoying about it. Cool. Watermark. Who owns the photos? With copyright, I mean, you own the photos unless you assign that copyright over to someone else. You can sell that copyright, which is usually comes at a higher price, but sometimes you can just license it to them. Got to run. Thanks. Examples of contracts or invoices. I don't know if we can show examples on here, but do you guys have any advice on contracts or invoices?
Go ahead, Kevin.
I would just say that I would just say I use Wave, and I think Gary, the Wave is just one of those free softwares that you can get into, and it generates automatic invoices and keeps up with the customer list and stuff. But I know that you guys probably have.
What I do on my Wave, though, is because you're working with people who don't know about drones. It explicitly says, I put a note in there that says, Scott Airborne Emergencies is sole responsible for calling or no call with flight due to weather or safety issues or concerns. That takes that all away from them. I am in totally control of that. That lets them know right there. Also, when I do in the notes on the Wave, is I put down what the shoot's going to be. You know, they want an aerial photogrammetry of a piece of property. That's what it shows right there. So it just explicitly goes into detail what they're asking for. So when they get it, there's no questions about, oh, you didn't get this or that. Well, it's right there, and we both agree to it. And then also, just me personally, I'm not saying this, but when I do drone work, they pay me in advance before I even go out there. That's just something I do because it's just, if they want it that bad, then they're going to pay me in advance for it. Some people do 50-50. Now, if I'm doing a contracting job where I'm doing a large property, yeah, I'll do 50-50 up front, if it's going to take me a long process.
But you've earned trust to be able to do that too, right? You did your free jobs and people know what they're going to get. It's not like people might not do that if they feel like, oh, that's a risk. I don't know if this guy's going to deliver, but you have that trust where people know and you can do that,
Yeah, you've got to be able to walk the walk, talk the talk, and walk the walk. People are going to tell you right off the bat if you're lying or not. So yeah, you just got to play it by ear.
Yep. Cool. How much does that Waze cost? I'm not sure.
I'm putting it. It's free.
It's free
right here. Just a link for that. Yep. So I've got the link.
Wave. Waves.
Oh,
Waveapps.com.
Accounting. Yeah.
Yeah, it does everything for you.
Mm-hmm. That's what we
and Stripe.
People. That's what we teach people in the Drone to 1K classes.
Yeah.
Use Waze.
Okay.
I just use QuickBooks. That's what my accountant uses. So.
Ooh.
Oh, Kevin can pay for his accounting software. Okay. You don't need to flex on us like that, Kevin.
And there is, I know that there is some people that have posted examples, because that question comes up quite a bit in the community. There's plenty of examples in there too of invoicing and pricing.
I think there's a whole course on it, isn't there?
Yeah, actually, now that you say that, there is one.
Yeah. I don't know if it's in the
or is it in Business Mastery?
That's in the Drone to 1K course. But yes, there is a bunch of stuff in there on taxes, and there's a sample contract for LLCs and all that stuff too. Max, dlcjoin.com. It's on the screen. If you type that in, it'll take you to the page where you can join. Cool. All right, everyone. Well, I feel like the questions are slowing a bit. Here was one more. Sorry. Do you recommend to storyboard your shoots? If so, do you preview that with your clients? Like you kind of figure out what shots in advance you're going to get and then go through that? Or do you just tell them, I'll take care of it and just do it?
I think it depends on the client. Sometimes I do. Like I did a recent commercial for a commercial real estate buildings. So they had like a videographer, they had hired actors, they did a whole thing. So I had to go through with the other videographer and get the shots down, and they had all the actors in place, and I was flying the drone over them as they were riding their bikes and stuff like that. So sometimes I'll do that, but then other times clients have no idea what they even want. So I just do it for them. Hey, and they're like, oh, I wasn't expecting that. That's awesome. So depends. You got to kind of just gauge your customer and what they know.
Sweet. Any other comments? Let's see. What software do you use for editing? I think you might have answered this, but you said Final Cut Pro and Lightroom for images?
Yeah, Lightroom. Yeah.
All right. Does anybody fly Autel drones here? Full disclosure, I've never flown an Autel drone before. I don't think.
I have.
What do you think about them?
I really liked it. So I took the only time I've flown an Altel twice, and it was when I was flying next to the Branson, Missouri airport, and I had my Phantom 4 Pro V2 with me, and had all my geofencing, all my everything unlocked, but of course the drone just would not take off. So I brought the Altel as a backup, and man, I really liked it. Other than like I feel like the controller felt a little bit cheap, but as far as the drone flying and the pictures quality and everything, it was I was impressed. I mean, I liked it.
All right, cool. Do you need insurance for each shoot? I would say probably.
Yes.
Yeah, I have. You can do it. You can do it a couple different ways. You can get it that month pay by month. If you're doing a lot of work, or you can pay by the hour, which is in my area it's like $15 an hour just to get insurance. So that's
There's
nice
some higher end jobs. Like I've had jobs where in my contract, they've required me to have $2 million insurance policies. So like I've had to get certain ongoing clients, I've had now a policy, just I keep it all year, and it's not cheap, but it is what it is. So.
Yeah. I think the break even is usually around, if you do more than like 5 or 6 jobs a month, it makes more sense to do the monthly policy versus the on-demand insurance. At least that's what Skywatch said when they came on.
The yearly
Tom,
one has hull insurance too, though. So
what's that?
The yearly one includes hull insurance usually. So if you
Yeah.
crash your drone, it covers the physical drone itself too.
Yeah, sure. Tom, oil and gas pipeline, that's going to be more of a discussion for our Thursday one when we're talking about mapping and inspections and stuff. But I don't think anybody here has oil and gas pipeline inspection stuff, do they? No. Okay. But to quick answer to your question, they could be looking for methane detection, or they could be looking for like 3D models for condition of their like tanks and stuff like that. Is there a steep learning curve to fly inside for real estate? Anybody want to answer that?
Flying an FPV inside is way different than flying one outside.
I don't want the insurance, so no, I don't use the FPV inside there because you're expecting a lot of insurance then.
Yeah, and you don't want to look like an idiot flying and crashing into something inside and wrecking it. And
I have hard enough with my camera.
I don't think there is a learning curve to it, and it's tricky. But I think also we had just had Juan on, and he does a good job of, he's kind of got a formula put together to where he brings on people that are looking to get into flying interior real estate with FPV. And I think he's got like an expedited course where he's saying, what should take you maybe 80 hours of spending time on a simulator, he can get that down to 8 hours to where you're feeling pretty proficient to get drone flying inside. So that whole Q&A is in there. But yeah, there's some skill to it, but I think it's just one of those things. It's like anything else. You just need to spend time on the sticks.
You guys are weak. I had no learning curve at all. I'm just kidding. I don't. I do like to chase my kids around with drones inside, so I do that. But I usually do them with like really small Telos or those little Holy Stone drones or something like that. So cool. All right. Well, we've been on here for an hour and a half. I think that's good. We have another one coming up on Thursday where we're going to have 2 other people from the community, but this time they focus a little bit more on some of the mapping and inspection, construction, that type of thing. So if you'd like to tune in for Thursday as well, we'll be talking about that. And then I'll give my same spiel about Drone Launch Connect, but I'll just use different examples, and I'll talk about all the stuff that's in there for mapping and inspections and all that if you're in an area where you like doing that. So I appreciate everybody hanging in here. Still got more than 100 people, hour and a half deep. So I appreciate it. You guys are great. Love chatting with you all. Big thanks to Kevin, Kevin and Gary for being here. Me and Dusty are paid to be here. These guys are just here out of the goodness of their own heart. So I appreciate you guys coming on and sharing your experience with us. All right. Well, everybody, have a great night. And if you're going to be around Thursday, we'll see you for another training then. Me and Dusty will be in person together, actually. We have a little company retreat in Colorado, so we'll be coming at you from our Airbnb. So it'll be fun times. All right. See y'all later. Thanks again, fellas.
See you guys. Thank y'all.
Thanks.